afternoon, everyone. I guess I'm just going to start by opening this. I got this from CIP1 yesterday, which is, I don't remember what that stands for, but anyway, California Import Parts. They do a lot of Volkswagen stuff, so they have a lot of good things. One moment. Alright, so maybe I just need to fully turn this computer into a PC because Macs are apparently terrible. I can't make audio come through from desktop to OBS. So anyway, I don't know if it's working or sounds good at all. But that's a lot better. I'm going to, actually I'm going to mute this, whatever. I have no idea how this is working. I'm going to quickly unbox this. It's the shifter for that, which I just gave away the perfect unboxing, so I guess I'm not an unboxing channel. But a couple things I'm going to do today, probably, I haven't fully decided. I'm going to get back in the rail, see what I can do, maybe weld up the bottom seat bracket. And if you watched yesterday's stream or browse through it, which I know it's long if you're just trying to find out the information instead of watching all the boring parts in the middle, I do want to make a full YouTube and edit it up video so that you can just kind of get the gist without having to watch 2 hours and whatever else. I probably will do that eventually. But I just haven't done it yet. Anyway, what I'm going to do yesterday, or what I'm doing is I'm mounting my seats and they're going to be angled. The backrest is almost going to be at a 45-degree angle. It's really comfortable. It gives me more headroom. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. So I'm probably going to do the bottom seat mount, and I do have some, I have some square tubing that I might use for the top. It'll go from, I'll have to show you, but it's quite a few, it's like half a foot off the floor of the rail, and then I'm going to weld a tube from one of the side tubes to the other side, and then probably some supporting beams in there in the middle or something, just to make sure it doesn't collapse or anything weird like that. And then I can mount my seat anyway, and then the passenger seat we'll have to see. Again, I don't know if I'm going to use this one I have here. I might actually just get another one. Anyway, so other things I'm going to need, I might also work my wife's bike. And if it turns out really nice, I might do it to mine as well, because I do want to make my tail shorter. So I have this for my skill saw. What are they called? What's the thing called? I don't know. It's a skill saw, sure, whatever. But I will need that. So anyway, let's start off with this. I will say the color isn't my favorite, but they honestly didn't have a better color. So. Oh, that's a dull knife right there. Now, I'm honestly not a big fan of chrome, big made in China, but they didn't have any other colors. So the whole thing with this is, where's my old one? Here's kind of my old one. A stock Volkswagen Beetle basically has this in it. It's not exactly like this. The rear tunnel has basically that, a hole and two other holes to bolt on, and then the shifter bolts on top, and actually I have a stock shifter too, but I don't know where it is. But it's basically kind of like this, slightly different. You bolt it in there. There is this giant pipe, basically. This sits inside here like that, and then this shifter goes on top, and that little ball on the bottom goes into that little cup. So then as you shift it left or right, it tilts this side to side, which switches between the different gear sets. So all the way to the left, it'll shift that to the right like that, and it'll spin the transmission to first and second, or reverse. And then if you go the other way, it's actually, I'm pretty sure if you just have it straight, it's first, second, and then to the right is third and fourth. And if you go all the way to the left and up, it's reverse. But the one problem with this is, one second. So the one problem with this thing is the shift linkage goes through this hole here, so I put it through this side just because it was easier. But it technically goes in here, and then it hovers sort of inside there. It just sits. So as you shift, if it's old and worn out like that one is, that ball that you saw on the bottom can pop out of that little cup in the shift linkage. It also just moves around a lot, and it's not as precise. You can make a short shifter by getting a little thing here that like spaces the shifter out from this platform up, and it makes the shifts shorter, but it makes it less precise, just the nature of how it's designed. So this thing, as you can see, this is where the shift linkage goes in. So the engine's at the back, so technically if I'm sitting where I am right here, this is the shifter, this is the back, that shift linkage comes out here and goes to the transmission. And as you can see, it's right here, but it also goes through the front. And it has, it's kind of weird, actually. Thought it was a little bit nicer. Anyway, it's supported on this end. I guess maybe I should fill that like oil with grease, and it probably helps support it a little bit better. But because it's supported on both ends, it makes it a lot more precise. So you can't go left. First, second. It moves just very little bit. First, second, third, fourth, and then reverse lockout. So you push that down, and then you can go over and up to reverse. And then to get back out, you have to do that. So anyway, my old shifter didn't have reverse lockout. It kind of did. It's like a design. The shifter I really want is called a Bug Tech shifter, but they are like $600 Canadian or something like that. That's the reverse lockout. Huh. Cool. Anyway, you guys can kind of see in the bottom there. as you're shifting. So first, second, third, fourth, and then you push this button, which is going to be really hard to show you, but that thing on the side lifts up, which allows that cup to move further. I'm not going to be able to do it on camera, but anyway, that's how it is. The Bug Tech shifter is the really one I really like. It looks really simple, and I could probably actually make my own just out of pieces of metal and stuff. But they look really cool. They're really well finished, and they are sort of similar to this shifter in that they do have like these sort of springs everywhere. So I believe it sits like this, and then technically it's supposed to be, again, like I said, first, second, and then it's weird though, it's not set up properly. So I think it's technically supposed to be, it goes this way. I'm not sure. This thing's not, whoever set this up last didn't do it, but a Bug Tech shifter basically has, it's like first, second, and then you should be able to push it to the further to the right this way, and then third, fourth, and then this resistance right here from those springs is supposed to be like your reverse lockout into third, to reverse. And so I'm assuming I could do that easily by turning this screw in, which I can't right now because it's rusty and it's a piece of garbage. But anyway, turning one of those screws in so that it's like sitting more like this. I don't know. Anyway, that's old, worn out. I don't know who last set it up, but it's not working anymore. Oh, getting this covered in stuff already. It is chrome. It's not my favorite, but it's pretty nice. It's supported on both ends for precise shifting, first, second. And it's pretty short, like the side to side. First, second, third, fourth, reverse. And I kind of like how it stays locked out like that. So it's pretty simple, it's pretty easy. Technically, it's off-centered though. It almost looks though like it's the same sort of box as that red one I showed you before, where it has these two holes. So a stock shifter could technically bolt up here, possibly, into these two holes. If you chop this thing out that's welded in and drill the hole in the center. Or if you just found another shifter that was offset like this. Anyway, so that's the shifter that I got, and I'm pretty excited for it. It was cheap. MP makes the identical shifter, but if anyone knows anything about MP, they make pretty good stuff, but it's cheap. It's all made overseas in places like China. It's probably made in the same place as this shifter. This shifter itself was made by CIP1, or whatever you want to call it, not made by them. Like I said, it was probably made in the same factory as the other guys. Let me just reload that. It was probably made in the same factory, or very similar as the MP ones, but this is made or sanctioned by CIP1 for their website, and they had a deal where it was a lot cheaper than the MP one. And MP's already cheap, so. Just gonna peel off the sticker here. Just because I have cheap parts doesn't mean I want everyone to know I do. Or I should just put Goo Gone on it and whatever, good enough. I have a lot of empty parts on this thing. I don't have ridiculous amounts of money to make crazy stuff. Eventually, maybe I want to update to the Bug Tech shifter just because it's so cool. But for now, this is what I'm going to go with. Let me know if the music is too loud. I kind of have it running in the background. Just it's like feeding through the computer into the other thing. I don't know if it's even worth it. I'm going to turn it off actually. I don't know, maybe the fan. You could probably hear the fan more than anything else. So yes, we got the shifter. That's exciting. And besides doing the seat brackets, maybe bolting up a seat, but I'll have to drill a hole in the seat and find washers, which I might actually have. Let me have a look quickly. What is this for? That kind of worries me. What do that for? Oh yes, here we go. Okay, I thought I had stuff, and I sort of do. Why do I only have one now? I feel like I should have a lot more of these. Anyway, basically, just hardware to mount the seats up. Nuts, bolts, more bolts, and I don't know why, but I have one washer. So, how do I redo this? How do I edit all this? Can I edit video? Maybe? Okay. I can do tags too. How do you freaking do this? I feel like this is what's not getting me any people coming out here. Let me put this on the floor before I definitely 100% break it. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that for now, just because I don't know what else to put. I should really do some. Oh, I need to change the. I need to spend some time actually fixing all this stuff. Maybe on the weekends that's what I'll do. I'll like edit a little bit. During the week I'll try to actually make stuff. It's gonna change a little bit. I'm going back to work on May 4th, so I'm gonna have to figure out what my schedule is gonna be like. It's different every single year, and this year is gonna be way weird probably because of current situation. I don't even know. I'm just gonna go with it. Why not? I don't like Macs. They are a pain to work with. They don't seem to operate with anything properly. It's a good color, not red, maybe. Let's do blue. Sure. Can I scroll down somehow? I need to set up thumbnails and do proper stuff like that. It's kind of a pain. I shouldn't have done it live, but whatever. I don't even know. Okay, so that's going now. Can I watch my video? I also have a stream in the background, so I apologize, but that's just how it's going to be. Okay, the camera's annoying on my face. Let's point it this way. I'll leave it there for now. You guys can look at all that cordage mess and the bikes in the background. And the wife is watching. Mechanisms, I don't know how to spell that. Okay, actually. I'll see what she says. Okay, so we'll have to use a skill saw in a bit. Where did I put that thing? Right there. I don't seem to have any of the hardware I needed. But yeah, so I'm going to start on the rail, I think, do a little bit of that, and then I might move over to the wife's bike and do a little bit on that. But I'm not sure. I like to go all over the place. I get bored working on one thing too long, and then I just switch over to the next thing. So, I need more lighting in here too. Well, that's not bad for video. Oh yeah, and the other thing, I want to make a shelf. So how do I do this one? I'm gonna try to glue a shelf just to the wall like I did with those over there, I think. Because if this is over there, although I'm worried about that being too heavy. Oh well. Music's terrible anyway. What is this? Let's try this. It's an hour long, so it'll be a little bit better. It's not going to work anyway. As soon as I start making loud noises, everything is going to go away. Maxer is not designed to work with OBS. So I guess I'll just get my stuff on my head, my protection, and I will cut the bar a little bit shorter and do some stuff like that. So maybe I'll put you guys I got this really long wire cord, and it's great, except for it's so long it just gets tangled everywhere mostly. Okay, stay there. Don't move, please. I must have stuff everywhere too. Oh, okay. Well, the music doesn't work anyway, so I'm just going to turn that off. That's unfortunate, but I guess that's max for you. Let me tidy it up a little bit. Let me swap this. This is just to massage my back, if you're wondering. Why I have a golf ball attached to this thing? Instead of buying that $600 machine, it does the exact same thing as this. You can just glue a golf ball to it, to one of these blades. I need this to cut the wood and also the plastic for the tail section of my wife's bike and possibly mine. But that's not needed yet. For now, I'm gonna probably mute you guys and just cut some stuff on the floor. I need to shorten a piece of metal. And then find the positioning in the rail to weld it up. I need to move the welder. Where is it? Right beside me here. Over there. And then just tack everything in and see how it goes. So, without... I feel like I'm just stalling to not do anything. I'm just going to wander over here and see what I can do here. And I will move the camera up to the roof again, but for now you're staying there. I need to set up some better stuff. Actually, I could just do that. I don't need to cut it. Now, oh. I will cut it a tiny bit just because I don't like it. Alright. Oh, so much garbage. Oh, come on. Max, I hate you. You're so bad. And awesome. I'm going to shrink this one up a little bit. Come on, there we go. Okay, I'll put you up, this one up here. Not that you need to see all this stuff anyway. But yes, so that bar, you can see I need to grind a little bit of that just to get all the, they put like an oil coating on it so that it doesn't rust while in storage. I need to quickly grind that off. And then after that, I need to measure it up, tack weld it in, and then I'll put the seat in and see if it fits where I want it to. Quickly show you what it looks like. Actually, I guess I can show you the other camera, but yeah, I'll show you the other camera. You can clearly see the difference between the spot that I just ground down a little bit and the part that's like treated with some kind of oil or whatever they have on there. If you try to weld to that stuff, it will work. It'll just be really poor. And if you tried to TIG weld on that, it wouldn't work at all. But MIG welding is a lot more forgiving. You can then do whatever you want. Now this will just pretty much sit somewhere like this. I might have to grind a little bit more on that side. It'll probably be fine there. I just need to measure from the center of this. I don't even know if you can see that. Yeah, you can. The center of this one, this beam, to the back of this, and it's supposed to be 11.5. I wrote it on the side here, 11.5 inches from there to here, about there in. It's not going to match these lines because, again, this whole chassis gets narrower as it goes forward. So this beam is straight, or I'm assuming it's straight. It could be not at all. It looks straight, but these two outer ones, they actually taper in. So to make these go straight across from like that to that, this is probably cockeyed. It's angled differently than it needs to be. I probably can even measure between these two bars. Where's my? From this side, it's 7.5. This side, it's 8. So it's half an inch difference between either end to make it straight. So I know these aren't straight. So anyway. Ground the straps on. Now let's measure. I'll probably put this through the bottom actually instead. Set up properly. Get my helmet. I'll measure that up now and I'll just tack it in place. It's not exact, it doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just kind of going from the center of this tube to here. Why is it wrong? It's about there, so I need to do more grinding actually first. Let me flip that off. This is actually down quite a bit further, so I just need to grind a little bit back maybe. Okay, again from here. To there. I have to do this a few times just to get it where I want it. So I think that's kind of where I need it to be. Something like that. 11.5. 11.5. Okay. So I'll be tacking here, here. What just happened? Oh, it's stuck. That's a pain. edges first, and then I'll maybe move that to this side. Let me do one more check. Measure 45 times, weld once, right? I mean, I'm just tacking it so it doesn't make a big deal, but. Sort of clean up as I go here because it's already in my hand. Tacked in. Move this to this side. I'm just going to do 4 tacks. I think I'll just do it here. On this fellow. I'm going to do 2 more. I just don't want it to crack off. Alright, now I'll check the measurements again. Right now it's still easy to cut these welds if I need to. Oops. Eleven and a half. 11 and a half. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I can move the bolt holes kind of around a little bit, but it's still 11 and a half. This is garbage. I'm going to move this side for now. Put the seat in here, and then I'll see if this shifter kind of lines up where I want it to as well. Or how about I do center drive and just put it right like that? I can do passengers on top of the transmission or something. So this is basically going to sit sort of like this right here. So I'm going to have another bar from there to there where I kind of ground that off. And that'll hold the seat up. And then I'll probably do a thing off the back here, just into the back, to hold it really steady in case of accident. But this I can also move anywhere along here if I have it, because I'm pushing the seat as far that way as I can. I'll push this one as far this way as I can, so I will have room down the center. Yeah, that's part of the reason I'm going such a crazy angle, is because if I don't, like that bar gets in the way. I'll have to cut it if I want to move it in more, or I'd have to push it way back and go over, in which case my head's close to this. So this, I think, might be the best. So I'm going to do one more bar from there to there with some down brackets. Oh, how am I going to do that? I need to do a support, but I don't know exactly where. Technically, the shifter's off center, which actually doesn't help me in any way right now. Also have to be careful about where I put my brackets to help hold up my support brackets. That's actually going to be really nice. I really like that. Okay, that's way too far forward. So, I might have to put it here. And then I'm going to have to take that other piece, the shift linkage, and put another bolt kind of into the end, welded in, so I can screw this part into it. But that won't be hard to do. And then I just need to figure out how long I need to make it. I don't know why I thought that was going to be fine way up there. And I have to cut another piece. Actually, I have two other pieces of metal. I can easily just weld them side by side, but like right here. This won't be all the way back like that. It's going to be more like this, I guess. Yeah, it's pretty much going to sit exactly like that. So I'm going to have to make it flat, but flush kind of across there, because that's kind of what's leaning on that piece. And then this is nice to sit like that, although the bug body will be pretty much right here too. So, but when I don't have the bug body on, it'll be really nice like this. Steering. Oh, I need to grind this more too, actually. Maybe I'll get the grinder and just do this, clean this up really nice while I can sit here. And then this will pretty much just sit like that, maybe. Might need to get an adapter to make it a little bit longer, because I still think, even though I've moved up quite a bit, I'll want it right about here. I'll have to see. I'm basically going to grind this part off put a piece of metal behind here and just weld it down like that. And then I'll sit here, I'll have a quick release. Then I just need to figure out this, which I guess I could sit this high. Just bolts to the side of this. That's way too high though. I think I need to get the seating position out before I can figure this out. But I think I can burn this in, so I'm just going to do a quick weld around the outside here. I'll do here, here, and I'll do the other side. Then maybe I'll drill some holes or something. Not 100% sure yet. That's kind of how I want it. And I have tons of room around my head. And I will do foam here, 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 there, and all here. Yeah, so we'll be sitting like this. So I'm going to quickly weld that in. Yes, I don't have gas. This is a gasless flux core because, yes, my TIG welder has gas. Obviously, you need gas for TIG, but I don't have any gas for this. So it's a little bit boogery, but whatever. Really sturdy now that I have it welded in. I was worried it was going to flex a little bit. I guess this one also has that underneath it. But it doesn't really flex at all, so. Where did I put it? can get. Bottom side. Oh well. Maybe I'll just use a paintbrush and paint underneath there. That welder can use gas, I just haven't bought any. It's like $200 or $300 to buy a gas welder. Who's banging me? Now it's going to measure from I'm going to leave that there. I don't know why. I don't need it, but I also don't want to take it off. Measure from here to here. Also, I don't know why, but depends exactly where I put it, so figure out where I need to put it. I said something like that. Yeah, this is definitely protruding into that. If I had another seat like this, it might have to actually be even lower than I think. Because it can't be up here, it has to be down below. So I think what I want to do is line up that line here, I don't know if you guys can see that, with kind of this, if I can. that's like perfect right there. $34. That should give me enough variance either way. See if I get the metal out. Pretty long piece of metal. It's a sort of tubing, but not really. That should be more than strong enough. I should be able to put a bolt inside. Grab the grinder. I should swap over. I guess I use this saw. I don't know. Just swap over a disc here. I'll just quickly do this right down here. Probably over you guys' site, but it'll be quick and easy. So I need. cut. I guess I could have used the saw, but let me just clean up a little bit of this. Sort of destroyed my thing. I'm going to swap out blades again. I caught it funny and it exploded. Perfect, but now let's see if I can fit it up here. Another motorcycle. Didn't even know that person had one. Maybe it's not theirs. Could be like their a family friend or something. Some of there would probably actually work. shave a little bit. usually just fine like that if I can make it higher. Alright, I could do this and then add like a little booster upper. Let me see. Cleaning the house again. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Ooh. This is hard to fit up. Less of an angle. Got it. Okay, so this angle is not quite right yet. I'm going to continue to sand it down to try to get it closer. Where does this go now? So yeah, it goes like that. But I need to bevel it a little bit. But for some reason I can't think of how I need to bevel it. Oh yeah, so just the middle. So like this. Sorry, just talking to myself here at the moment. I'll change this angle a little more. Actually fits pretty good though. Oddly enough. That's kind of where I want it anyway. I will get my magnet. Wherever they are. Okay, I need to grind off a little bit more of that. have there. So let's do that first. Then I need to measure to make sure it's straight. Then I need to make sure it's flush. Right there. Sometimes I forget that I'm welding. I don't switch helmet. Not ideal. Nice, I put that chair right in the way, didn't I? Not going anywhere. I need to do the underside still, but I'll see if I can figure that out in a second here. Closer so I can do the bottom. Then maybe I'll drill holes in my seat. Sorry this chair is here, I'm just going to quickly do this so I can get it done. That might have been the best weld ever, even though I didn't think I could do it. Do a quick air out of the garage. I'll bring the wire brush wheel over and get all this slag off, but that's pretty tight too. That's not going anywhere. And I'm gonna weld 2 more pieces probably on here, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Once this airs out, I'll grind down this level here. I'll cut 4 pieces, I guess. Cut 4 pieces, I'll drill the holes in the seat pan so I can figure out exactly where I want to line everything up. And that'll be that. Alright, so, wow. What's happening here? Sorry, I'm trying to read everything you all people are saying. You all people? Hey, it's not done. There's still lots to do. The camera's in a weird spot, but I just welded in the seat mounts, so now I can have a seat. like that, but slightly more lean forward. I mean, if you can get the engine running, I can go for a drive really soon. I guess you can't really tell. What the angle is at, but the back of the seat is at like a 45-degree angle, so it's quite laid back. I still need to weld. You can't even see that either, but I mean, Dad, you can try to fit in it. I don't know if you'll ever get out. I can barely get out. But you can try. The seat's also pretty narrow. The whole cart is narrow. It can barely fit 2 seats. I don't know if you can tell, but the right shoulder ear on the seat protrudes into the passenger compartment. So I'm either gonna have to get different seats once I put 2 in there, or I'm gonna have to get just cut off that little shoulder wing, or whatever you want to call it. I'm doing the slow parts right now. All the fabrication takes forever. So I'm trying to do the seat mounts. I still need I did the crossbar. You can kind of see it in the front of the seat there, that metal bar. It's not quite high enough, but it's the only solid frame that I could connect to. So I'm going to weld 2 more little pieces of metal underneath the seat so the seat can connect to that rail on both sides. And then I need to weld up the trans mount and the motor mount, the bell housing mounts. Throw all the stuff on the engine. Did you see my shifter though? Hold on, let me grab my shifter. Let me make this bigger. There, that's my new shifter. You should. Filming and live streaming it. If you download, it's called OBS, Open Broadcasting Software. It's pretty easy to use for live streaming stuff. Also, if you want to like make a bunch of camera angles, and you can just like push buttons to switch scenes to different camera angles, and then you can record it with OBS, and then you don't have to like cut and paste in an editing program later. It makes it really good. Yes. Anyway, I was going to show you this. This is my old shifter. So there's like a weird delay, like a couple seconds, so it gets me behind. But this is the old shifter that was in there. It's basically like a stock old bug. The only difference is obviously you have to have this piece because the old bug's just the trans tunnel is kind of in there. But anyway, this is basically how a stock bug trans shifter mounts. This isn't a stock shifter, but it's pretty much close to that. And all it has is, there's one more piece. This piece pretty much sits inside. I'll do it this way because it's easier to get in there. This ball sits in that cup, and then as you shift, it does stuff. But because it's not supported on this end, it kind of is sloppy. And if you do a short shifter, basically for this car, if you short shift, you just get like a spacer that spaces out between the mount and the shifter itself to give you a shorter throw. But you do that, it makes it less precise and more of a pain in the ass. So this one has support on both ends with bearings, and then they have a grease nipple so you can actually keep it nice and the bearings nice. And then, yeah, first, second, third, fourth, and then reverse lockout. And it keeps it in reverse. You can't get it out of reverse unless you push it again. So that other shifter, kind of cool. It's really terrible. Yeah, it's like a chrome. I don't really like chrome, but they didn't have any other color. A big Volkswagen, old bug and fans and sandrail. Website is CIP1, and they do stuff like this. So this is technically an empty shifter, which is like big aftermarket, but it's mostly from China. But CIP1, I think they just commissioned their own version of the exact same thing and sold it for cheaper. So on the website they list this one for, I can't remember how much, but this one was like $40 cheaper. That's the same thing, but it's chrome, but whatever. Could be worse. I could paint it, I guess, if I wanted to. But yeah, this one's supported. It's going to have a lot more precise shifting. It's really smooth, and it has a reverse lockout, so I don't money shift from, you know, second and then down into reverse or something by accident. I just need to figure out where I'm going to mount it exactly, because where the shift linkage, it has to be pretty straight in line with the shifter. And I did lift the engine slightly because I'm going to lower the whole thing. So I lifted the engine slightly, so the transmission is slightly higher than it was stock, which is partly why I had to get rid of the old shifter. But kind of because I have such a crazy 45-degree backrest, I have to find a good spot for me to actually put it. The other reason I have such a big 45-degree angle, so I can push the seat all the way to the outside of the chassis, and then it gives me more room down the center. Whereas before, if I had it all the way pushed back, I pushed the seat kind of more to the middle, and then it gave me less room for my shifter itself and for even the shift linkage. And what was I going to say? Or something else. Oh yeah, it pushes my weight forward. So now I'll have, because it's already rear engine and it's heavy in the rear, pushing my seat forward slightly. Even if I'm leaned back, it pushes the weight a little bit more forward, so I'll have a better weight distribution. The motor mount and cradle is not sorted. I can probably show you that. Actually, let me shrink this camera down again. Actually, let's switch to the other one. Don't mind the mess of the garage. It is quite a disaster in here. So this piece of wood is just kind of holding the transmission center right now. I need to, where are they? Basically, I don't know if you can even see in there. The trans mount is right here, the front trans mount. That thing right there. And I just need to make a mount from there to the actual rail. I think I can pull the whole transmission forward some more still, but I'm not sure if I'm going to. And then here is what some guy did a long time ago for the trans mount. It goes to the bell housing bolts, and then it just mounted to this like brace in the middle here. I'm probably just going to weld that back on here and just leave it for now. And then the rear transmission mounts are right here. Or rear transmission, the engine mounts. This is all stock Vanagon stuff, and then this is kind of like a weird, most rails and stuff have this big piece here, which bolts in here. So if I undo that and that bolt, this whole thing just kind of can drop down. But the downside that most stand rails have is they need something to connect from this back all the way up to where those bolts are. On stock Volkswagen Beetles, they have they call them the horns. It's a big piece of metal, comes straight out and connects right into the bell housing. but because they have a Vanagon engine, they probably had a Vanagon transmission at some point, which doesn't use that at all, which is probably why they cut that out. And I'm assuming they had a piece that went from there to here somehow. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they cut it off at some point. But I could technically weld the horns back in and have it go straight into the bell housing like the stock Bug, because I have the Vanagon engine, but I have an adapter for a Volkswagen Bug transmission. And then, actually my favorite part of the whole thing, you can't really tell right now because it's all a big mess, but all these are my brake lines. So basically, one line to the front, two goes to this. This line comes back to this, which is just like a, whatever you want to call it, a brake bias. So I can change how much pressure is going to the front wheels. And from there it goes to my pedal. I'm going to have two master cylinders, one for the front, one for the rear. And then the rear is the same. It goes from the rear wheels, obviously, to the same sort of thing, like a T-fitting. Then it goes up to another brake bias, so I can adjust, again, the front or the rear pressure. So it's going to be kind of a pain. Instead of having one knob, I'll have two. But because of that, I'll also be able to, you know, push my brake pedal down, close off one of the valves and hold pressure in the rear for like a parking brake. And then I can do the same with the front as like a line lock. And then I can also adjust them both, you know, pressure front and rear a little bit. And then, because, actually, where's the stock one? This is like a stock Volkswagen Beetle, what do you call them? Master cylinder. It's just a single. So basically, if the master cylinder fails in any way, I lose brakes from every part of the car and die in a horrible fiery accident. So I just got these. I got two of them. They're actually motorcycle rear brake masters, but I have two of them, and one will be for the front, one will be for the rear. So if one of them fails or a brake line fails, I'll still have the other half of the brakes. Sort of like modern stuff, but not quite. I don't have any use for your stock drive shaft right now. Although I could probably ask around, there might be someone I know. And then yes, if you want to see the actual Bug itself. Yes, there's cords and cables and garbage everywhere right now. It was clean until 2 days ago when I started working again, then I made a big mess. But basically I just cut out the entire front end except for the fenders. The entire floor pan is out and against the wall behind the Bug. The entire rear is cut out. And I do plan eventually on getting fiberglass doors just to make it lighter. And I want to make like a fiberglass or some kind of composite roof and then cut it out. And then use like rib nuts or something so I can bolt in a roof and then take it off when I want. Makes it lighter, and also I'll be able to use it in the winter time. PTFE? What are you talking about? I don't even know what the PTFE stands for right now. And if you want to see more of the stuff, I have a breather catch can for like the top here. This is like the breather on the Vanagon, so I'm going to use a catch can. I mean, I'm going to have to get an adapter because obviously that's not the same. It was cheaper to buy 10 fuel filters instead of one, so I bought 10, so I have lots of those for a long time. I have, you probably can't see it right now, but I'm going to do a remote mount. The oil filter usually goes down in here, and I'm going to remote mount it kind of up in there probably, but I'm not entirely sure. And then I also have an aftermarket, oh right there, the oil cooler, which I will mount probably up top more. So I'll get more oil capacity just with all the extra lines and stuff. Yeah, but the oldest bugs don't. The oldest bugs have no seals inside. More modern bugs do, and more modern cars do. But the old bugs, they only have one seal. And I think they might have a secondary push rod inside, so that if you do lose oil, brake fluid pressure, there's like a rod that'll start pushing against it, which means it'll be a pain and really hard to push, but you can. Yeah, they only have one plunger. It's probably because of people dying in cars like that is why they have two plungers nowadays. Yes. Anyway, there's still tons of work to do. I'm not even close to being finished. But I've been doing quite a bit of work. The engine won't be that hard to do. Most of it together. I have to take out a bolt that snapped off in the oil cooler adapter plate in the block, which hopefully doesn't take too much work to get out. And then I just need to throw on the cooling tins, all the lines for oil and stuff. Obviously no water because it's air cooled, which is nice. I have to redo the left, the driver's side rear wheel bearings. I tried to get away without doing it, but it turns out, for some reason, I don't know who was the last owner of this thing, but it had all kinds of different stuff. So the stub axles that go through the wheel bearings, it was a different size on the left, so I had to get a new one of those anyway. The right side I got a different one because the splines were all messed up, and I just got one and I assumed it was the same as the other, but it wasn't. And then I put the wheel on and the bearings are terrible. I tried to get away without getting new bearings, but still I got new bearings. And then the front right, I have to weld on the new spindle, put the new bearings on, put on the new brakes. The front's going to be disc brakes, the rear will be drums for now. Oh, I just broke that. Eventually I'd like to go to discs all around, but whatever. It's kind of easier when I get it done. And I'm going to do inboard suspension eventually too. You can kind of see their shocks. They're not actually even true coilovers. There's like helper springs on the shock, which everyone says are terrible, but I bought them before I figured that out. So I'm going to, it has torsion bar suspension. I'm going to de-torsion bar it and do inboard rear suspension eventually, probably not right away because I want to get it drivable. And then the front I'll eventually also do the same, but for now I'm just going to leave it because I'd have to change a whole lot to do the front. And the color, I'm probably going to do the whole sandrail a different color, or maybe I'll just repaint it red because there's a lot of parts that need to be redone anyway. I need to take it to like a car wash all the mud out from inside, and then I want to do the whole floor in like rhino liner or bed liner or something, and then maybe I'll do the rest of the cage in red again, I'm not sure, or I'll just change it to something else. And then the bug itself, I'm going to leave blue, just like this with the patina on it. I don't know, otherwise, if I wanted to do all the work to make it look really nice, I'd have to get these dents out. I'd have to like strip everything and repaint it, and I don't want to, and I think it looks kind of cool the way it is. Alright, see you, Gareth. And the bottom, I'm going to cut the bottom. I'm probably going to start by cutting the entire, pretty much this whole piece out. And it'll be that much shorter. This side isn't bad, this rocker, but that side, I don't know if you can see, that side, the rocker itself is pretty good. Not really, it's really rusty. The bottom part, I don't know if you can see that like flat piece of steel on the bottom of the rocker, that's like completely separated. Let me see if I can reach. It's completely rusted out. Every time I cut this beetle, rust would fall out and most of the rocker arm fell on the floor, and I threw it in the garbage already because it was rust. And then some of the other things, if you want to see Allie's bike. Her bike is pretty much done, sort of. I mean, there's quite a few things I have to do. I have this like windshield thing that I'm making to hide some of the wiring, but it doesn't need to go on. It's going to be painted. I need to do this a little bit nicer. I have this mount right here that I'm going to use. This is her stock gauge cluster mount. I'm basically going to cut that inner part out, that little, basically the thing that's the same shape as her gauge. And then I'm going to drill holes for this mount, and it sandwiches this piece in there, and then this will hold her gauge, so her gauges will kind of sit right there. But that won't take very long. The wires are all done. The rear is pretty much done. You can't really tell, but this is like a little template I made for her rear seat cover. It's going to pretty much just go like that. This is just a template though, and then the rear brake light's right there. But it all finally, oh yeah, and then there's this little hole here, and there's one on the other side for the signal lights. But this thing also has integrated signals, but I figured I'd try to make it as legit as possible. They don't like when the tail lights are close to the signal lights are so close, so I'm not going to bother using the signals in here, so I just cap those ones off. So I'll just use that. There's the left one. The front works too. And then but it starts and runs. The rear taillight is slightly crooked. I'm going to bevel out the right hole, and just so I can adjust it, just so I can knock the right side down a little bit. My bike, which you can see over in the corner there, my battery had died. It's pretty loud, but it's only mostly loud in the garage. As soon as you get out of the garage, it's not nearly as loud. It also has a baffle in it, so you can take it out and make it louder if you wanted to. But I think it's probably fine the way it is. My bike, I can also put a baffle in to make it quieter, but I just need the bolt for the handlebars, and then that'll be done. My battery died, and lithium-ion batteries, as you might know, once they get too low, the charger won't actually charge them. It just says it's a dead battery. So yesterday, I jumped it with a regular battery to enough voltage, or amperage, or whatever it is, to get it to a point where my lithium-ion charger would get it. So now my bike is running, everything's on. I just need the handlebars done now. And I just need one Allen, because I broke the head off of it and I don't have another one. And yes, the garage was a lot cleaner until recently. All this spaghetti wasn't here. And then this is all garbage stuff I cut out from the Bug. There's that fuel heater. And then I have these heaters too, which I don't need anymore because this garage is nice and warm. I'm probably going to get rid of that fuel tank because that's from the VR6, and I figure if I ever use the VR6, I'm just going to get a custom race fuel tank. And then there's the rest of the Bug goods over there, the fenders and stuff like that, which I might use, might not, we'll see. I'm not sure. Maybe in the winter I'll put them on. Summer I'll make it more of a hot rod. I mean, I can almost get to work. I guess I could take Allie's bike to work if I really had to. How long have I been doing this? 2 hours. This is almost the record. I've been doing about 3 hours a day. I was doing 2.5, and then yesterday I started to go to 3 hours. Just working in here. And I'm at 2 hours and 43 minutes already. But I still want to do a few things. I want to do Allie's bike. I want to maybe finish my seating position for my sandrail. So, we'll see. The front end from this old bug is like sitting right there too. I just need to like take it apart. I want to use the knuckle possibly for a future conversion on the sandrail. Because the newer Beetles, instead of having the kingpin, they have ball joint front end, which is pretty universal. I can make my own, what do you call them, double wishbone front suspension, and then just 2 ball joints. Just make mounts for them on the wishbones, and it would work perfectly. It's really smoky in here. I'm just going to open the door. But I've been doing quite a bit of work. I had to do a whole bunch of cutting in the sandrail to get, like I said, whoever was in there before, she was actually on the stream not too long ago. And yeah, she's working from home. The kids must have been mostly the drivers of this rail before, because all the mounts and stuff are really short and weird, and I need to move a lot, so it's taking a lot longer than I thought. Allie's upstairs right now, and she was watching. It looks like it's just me and you now, unless it's you and her, and maybe I don't count as a person watching because it's myself in my own stream, but it used to be that you counted in your own stream. Also, I figured out my Ackerman angle is way off because technically the rail has been extended past a regular Volkswagen Bug wheelbase. So, actually, the rear wheels will sit perfectly where they're supposed to be. Yeah, it's hard to do with the delay. Switch back to this. So it should fit perfectly in the wheel well, just like stock. But the front, the wheel center will probably be right about here. So it'll basically look like a Volksrod with the extended front end anyway. So that'll be cool. I don't know if I told you, but I got my official return to work. So I go back to work on May 4th. I mean, it's kind of cool, but I've been actually enjoying Allie working from home and me being home. If I could make money from home too, we have lunches together and stuff. It's really nice. And then I don't feel bad. I can just like go into the garage for a couple hours. I know she's working, and I can just come upstairs. We can hang out and do stuff, and then all that. But what you're gonna do? You gotta make money somehow, I guess. Well, just like I was basically told, I found out on Thursday, which I guess is what, yesterday? My other bug is running fine. I need to put the battery back in and change the oil, and it runs. I don't know how long the rail will be. I'm going to keep trying to do a couple things every day until I go back to work. Hopefully finish Allie's bike, hopefully finish my bike. I'll change the oil and stuff on my other Beetle. And then once I start working, we'll see what shift I'm on and where I can find time to actually work on the sandrail. I really want to get the rail done. I think it's really cool, and I'm excited to ride it, drive it. I found some other weird things. The front left tie rod, I guess, the outer tie rod, is what runs fine in the summer? Oh, the bug. The bug runs fine all the time. You know, in the dead of winter, I have to have it plugged in, but otherwise it runs fine even at -40. Just getting it started. But the rail, the front left outer tie rod, someone like welded a railroad spike along the outer tie rod. I guess to try to strengthen it, because I think it was the one that was bent before. And I don't know what the rack came out of. It's not an old Volkswagen rack. I have no idea what it's from. I've tried to figure it out. It kind of looks like a Volkswagen, like Sirocco or Rabbit or something, but it's slightly different. But every country seems to have their own version of it. So I might just have to use the old rack I have from the VR6. I'm going to have to open it up and depower it and then put it in, and maybe it'll work. But it's not a manual rack to begin with, so it's a little bit heavier. Yeah, one of the tie rods is currently bent, and the other one looks like it was bent and then he repaired it or something. Or maybe it's vice versa. The one that is good is still good, and the other one that was bent is bent again, but he strengthened it or something. I don't know. That's kind of weird. On the left rear seems out of whack. The right side wheel, it looks like it's pretty much on point for toe, but the left one is towed out quite a bit. But I know I can adjust it a little bit. I haven't really tried much. Racks for what? If I use a bug rack, I have a spare bug rack, but they use a really weird type of manual steering, which is terrible and I hate it, so I don't want to use it. Like I said, I can use my VR6 rack, but I'd have to open it up and take out the seals that move the fluid and then just fill it with wheel bearing grease, and it would probably work pretty good, although it would be a little bit heavy because it's meant to be a powered rack. Or you can buy online at like CIP1, the same place I got my shifter. They have these like center racks that are meant for sandrails, so it sits in the center with like the steering shaft comes out of the center, and you'd have to have, I guess, two universal joints instead of one like I have now, and it'd be fine, except for the only problem with Volkswagen, the old bugs, they don't have a lot of steering angle lock anyway. Lock to lock is pretty small. And yes, I know how to do an alignment. I've done lots. I've done the Beetle like 20 times. I've never taken the other Beetle to an alignment shop. I just do it myself all the time. And yes, a long time ago, at the very beginning, you said your back must get sore from bending over. It does, but that's why I can't be a mechanic anymore, because at least this, if I get really sore, I can take a break, sit down, relax, come back, and I'm fine after 2 hours. Or I can work for 3 hours and just be like, oh, I'm done for the day. Whereas as a mechanic, you're kind of stuck working for 8 hours or possibly 10 or 12 hours, depending on the shop and what's happening, and they don't really like you to have that many kind of breaks. So yeah, I've been stretching lots. I actually haven't been working out for the last 2 weeks or a week and a half. I sort of strained my back a little bit like a month ago, and so it's been really sore. Doing anything pretty much strains and it starts to hurt. Need a channel for YouTube? What do you mean? If you mean a YouTube channel, then this is the channel for me and Josh can come on at any time. I told him he should do Porsche stuff. I also want to take these streams that I'm doing, and I'm going to like cut them up and edit them into like really short form. So the parts where I'm talking, answering questions, I'll cut them up. And then the parts where I'm working, doing like the fabrication for the rail is a lot of work, and it's like a lot of time just sitting there thinking and measuring and doing nothing, so it's kind of boring to watch. But if I cut it into like little segments where it's me welding, you know, montage of fast forwarded of me welding, cutting, and looking at stuff with some nice music in the background, and then me talking for a few seconds, and then me going back to it. That's kind of what I'm going to do. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do more of that stuff. It's too bad you guys live 8 hours away, because we could do a lot more stuff like that. I have a really cool idea for mounting cameras inside like a car. So once this rail is done, I want to have a front-facing low camera, a rear-facing low camera, and maybe an inside one, and maybe a couple other weird angles. Maybe even one like a 360 camera up on like a stick or whatever, and then you can get some really crazy angles. And then you can buy a NUC, NUC. It's like one of those mini computers. It's all solid state, so there's no moving parts inside it. They're fairly cheap. They're between like $200 and $1,000. If you want like a gaming one, they're like $1,200. If you want the cheapest one, you can get one for like $160. So I'd probably want like a mid-range, so like $200 or $300, $400, maybe $500. And then a power converter, and then I just need some internet. Man, I was going to use this bar. I don't know if I'm going to have enough of it now. So once I cut out the lower rocker panel, I'm not going to have any support between the A pillar and the B pillar at the bottom. So I was going to weld in some of this bar near the bottom, kind of just above where I'm going to cut it, just so it doesn't like bend in half while I'm picking it up and stuff. But I think I used too much of this on my rail already, so I'm going to have to get some more metal at some point. I guess I could get nice tubing instead, so it's stronger. I'm good. You should see, actually here I'll show you what my carburetors will look like, because they're going to be awesome. I guess you've probably maybe seen a picture, but I'm not going to put both of them on because it's just too much work to put both of them on right now, but well, maybe I will, I don't know. And I think this one's for the side. So it's going to be like that, but one on both sides. I do have filters too. I got these velocity stacks because they're cool. I also want to get some taller ones. So the velocity stacks, this one's only like a 2 or 3 inch, I can't remember. But it will fit, I'm pretty sure, inside this. Anyway, you don't need to have the velocity stack on, you can just use the filter. So depending on what I'm doing, I don't need to have the... I don't know how I want to do this. I don't know if I can get it on while it's like this. Yeah, the only downside is it sort of gets really close to being the top, so it almost seals against the top of this filter. Like that is completely sealing the top of the velocity stack. But anyway, I kind of want this just for hot rod times, and then I'll mostly drive it with this on it. Get a couple other different sizes, because the different sizes of velocity stacks will change your power band a lot. If you have short velocity stacks, you have like the lower end low end torque and power. And then if you have really tall velocity stacks, then you have like the peaky power. More race car-y. I don't know. It'd be fun just to get a bunch of different sizes of velocity stacks and mess with it. I also thought about making my own velocity stacks out of fiberglass. And I could just do a whole bunch of varying sizes. I could go, the tallest I've ever seen that you can buy is like 6 inches, and the shortest is like an inch or something. And my hair looks kind of ridiculous. But yeah, most of the engine stuff should be pretty easy once I weld up the, maybe I'll even do that today, weld up the motor mounts and stuff. Then the engine will be ready to go. I need to redo the rear wheel bearing and then pound the stub axle back through, and then I can hook up the axles, put on all the engine stuff, and then the engine and everything, and then just wiring, and then the engine, wiring and oil. Once that's done, the engine will be ready to start. Oh, and I have to figure out where the alternator goes. It kind of goes on the right side, but I need to figure out exactly. I think I'm missing a few pieces, maybe. But once that's done, and then the seat rail, the seat brackets are another really big one. Once the seat mounting is, all I need is mine in. It doesn't matter if I have a passenger right away. Once I have mine in, I have the rear all mounted up. I do the rear wheels, and then I just do the front cut and weld, and then it should be pretty much ready to drive. And then I have to figure out how to get the body on. So there's going to be, like I said, I'm going to cut the bottom of the body, section it another inch or two, maybe even 3, so it fits better. I need to drop the body on top of it, probably need help with that. I need to make sure I trim stuff to make sure it fits. I measured, and width-wise, it should fit on no problem. There'll actually be a little bit of space on either side between the body and the sandrail. And then I just need to, like, I'm probably going to do underneath the bug dash and the, I'll even show you actually. So pretty much in here, I'm going to do a bar from there all the way across to there, like some kind of steel square tubing or rectangle tubing or something. And then I'll make a mounting, it'll go mount on the, pretty much the dash of that will mount to the dash of the bug. And then the same in the rear. It kind of already has these little things, so maybe I'll just make like get a piece of metal from there to that one, and then just like drill some holes and then mount that on the rear. That's the other thing I might have to do on the rail itself. I think, I'm not 100% sure because I've seen it on other guys' bugs, like other people have done bug bodies on rails, and sometimes this bar ends up going through the rear windshield. So if you do that, then they have to cut off that lower part, but I really want to keep that. So I might have to cut and make it so there's like these special tube joiners you can get that I could take that out and then rebolt it up through the rear windshield, or I'll have to cut and bend it so it goes down to maybe this bar or something else. And yeah, easy to steal, I mean, I guess it depends. If by easy to steal, lots of people probably, I'm going to put probably kill switches everywhere. I'll have like fuel pump kill switch hidden somewhere, and I'll have ignition kill switch somewhere, and I'll have maybe a spot for a key somewhere. Plus, once if it has the Beetle body on it, the doors technically will lock. So yeah, it'll be easy-ish to steal, but most of the time it's going to be in the garage, and then if it's not in the garage, it'll be in my work parked, and then any other time it'll be so close it doesn't really matter. I don't know how to do the gas heater because sadly it's missing some of the electronic parts of it. The company still exists that make these gas heaters. They are in Germany, but it's probably so old they don't have the parts anymore. I guess I could contact them and see if they have it, but I feel like I'm missing some parts of that gas heater. But I guess I could buy another gas heater from that same company or another one. I could get a diesel heater or something, I don't know. Or I could just find a really good electric heater and make it work. I don't know yet. But yeah, so far I've kept the gas heater because it is really cool. It just, there's like an electric circuit board part, and I think I accidentally maybe threw a part of it out. I think I have part of it, but I think there's a secondary part that I don't have anymore. Plus, I can't really find like a diagram of how this actually works and what parts is needed, so I don't know if I'm missing something or not. But it's pretty simple. Fuel just runs through the center, gets burnt, and it's got like a little spark plug there, I guess. Fuel inlet, fuel outlet, air inlet. I don't know. I mean, it has on off, but I don't know if it's like I have this piece, which I have no idea what it is. I can put it in this one actually. Do you know what this is? And then the other piece I'm missing, I think, is the on-off switch. So I have no idea exactly what this is for. I guess this must be the temperature control or something. I'm not sure. So there's this part, and then I'm pretty sure there was another part that had the switch on it, which I think I threw out. If I could figure out how to make that work just with like an on-off switch, I could turn on and off, I would probably do that, but I don't know if I can find the ability to do that. Yeah, so I have that one piece I just showed you. I don't know what it is. And then I remember seeing the switches, but I threw it out because I was cutting out stuff from the interior, and I didn't know what it was, and I just kind of tossed it out without thinking about it. And then I found that I wasn't sure if I actually had a gas heater, and then I found that, and I looked online, and I saw the switches, and I threw out a part of the switch. So unless I can get another switch, maybe. Like I have the heater itself, so if I could somehow retrofit it to make that heater work with different controls, that would work, I guess. Like you said, it's pretty simple. It just has air intakes, air into the, or like intake from the outside, exhaust into the cabin, like for the heat, I guess. Then it has the fuel in, fuel out, and there's the glow plug or heater, spark plug, whatever it is. What is this top part actually? No, that's not really working. Do you know what this thing is on the end here? It has like, is that the glow plug? No, that must be the glow plug. This is the glow plug. And that's a ground for it, and then I guess power is probably right here. That's, I'm assuming ground because it goes to the, it like grounds onto the heater itself, which is mounted to the chassis. And that must be power. That's like the glow plug, I guess. This is like the fuel in. But what is this? You can kind of see inside, maybe. Not really. Hold on. Sorry, I can't see if you're saying something. I can't see right now, but. So whatever this top part is, it goes through inside there. But I don't know what that is. Also, hey, I'm wearing the Ron John Surf Shop shirt you got me from Florida last year. Which I guess I'm kind of getting dirty, but I didn't really get it dirty until I started picking up dirty stuff just now. Ah. I mean, I guess I could light with a match, but something tells me Allie wouldn't be impressed by that. Although she wasn't really impressed with me jumping a lithium battery with a stock battery, because you're not really supposed to do that either, so. Oh, I guess that could be just like a temperature sensor, and then it can shut off if it gets too hot or whatever. That's probably what that is, you're right. So is that the outlet side then? I don't know. Anyway, very confusing. I don't know how to fix it right. I need to figure that out. I guess I'll have to look at more plans. Everything I look at is kind of weird. I'm sure there's probably modern stuff you can use on that. I don't think that itself is bad. Unless it leaks, I guess. And then for the wheels, I want to go probably 8-inch wide all around. Right now the rears are 10 and the fronts are like the little tractor wheels. For like winter driving, I think I want to go with like the really small size tractor width. I kind of actually think I want to go with, whatever, I'm not going to go show you. I have some motorcycle tires that are as wide as the fronts are. So in the winter, I want to go all the way around that same width, like a 160 or something, all the way around with like studs for like ice racing or something. And then I think for fun, I want to do with like the 10-inch wide rear wheels in the rear and maybe 8s or 9s in the front, just for looking cool. And then for actually driving fast, I want to go 8 all around. It's light enough; it doesn't need anything bigger than that. Well, the other good thing about having a Vanagon engine and alternator is a Vanagon is meant to control electronics for like a fridge and a bunch of other stuff inside the van. So technically it should already be a fairly good alternator for what I'm using it for. So it should have no problem running an electric heater and possibly an inverter, like I said, for cameras and stuff. Because the Vanagons have like all the interior lighting, they have a fridge, they have a stove, which I guess is gas. Maybe the fridge is too. I don't know, but the Vanagon has a lot more electronics than a Bug does. So the alternator should already be pretty good. And worst case scenario, I can go to the junkyard and get a TDI, or I can find another alternator that's really good or buy one somewhere, and I can make a bracket to make it fit. I have a couple electric heaters. They're probably not quite good enough, but I have a couple electric heaters just sitting around here. And for the amount of space that cabin has, I probably can get away with it. Well, that's another thing I want to do is the sides of the sand rail. You can, I guess you probably remember seeing it, but you can kind of see inside. It's all that metal. I probably want to like cut an inch down from where the welds of that side paneling are, so it's all open. So then I can leave it open if I want to, but also I want to put plastic there, and then because I have that inch all the way around where the sheet metal is mounted right now, I'll be able to like riv nut, and then I can bolt on like just plastic. So the plastic will weigh a lot less, and it'll do the same thing. It'll just be lighter, and I can take it off and on if I need to or want to. Because the big thing I want to do is keep it as light as possible. Because I mean my engine's only 70 horsepower, which it's stock 70 horsepower, so I don't know, 2 carbs, better exhaust, higher compression, and slightly bigger engine. Instead of 2000 cc's, it's 2056 cc's. Hold on, I'm just going to put this camera back up. I mean, it's sort of heavy, but it's actually not that heavy. I mean, picking up this Volkswagen Bug itself, I could grab the whole front end and shuffle it over by myself. So I know the Bug is not heavy. And now this shell that I have, I can pick it up myself. It's probably like 200 pounds, maybe 300. And once I'm done with it, it'll probably be around 200. I can pretty much squat the whole thing if I wanted to. And then the rail itself, I know is kind of heavy, but it's not that heavy compared to an actual car. Most rails apparently are around 1,200 pounds. This one's probably slightly heavier because it is longer, like I said. So I think most rails 1,200 pounds. This one's probably like 1,300 or 1,400 pounds, just because it's a couple of inches longer. And it might not even be that. That might not be. So this thing will weigh under 2,000 pounds still. I can pick up the whole front end myself on this thing. The rear is obviously heavier, especially with the engine and stuff. But I mean, it's not that heavy compared to a modern car. Your Boxster, I guess, is pretty light, but like Josh's car, I think is 2,900 pounds or something. His Porsche, so this should be quite a bit lighter than that. Hold on, I won't be able to see your typing for a second, but I'm just gonna sit in the sand rail and see if I can figure out where I want the shifter. See, it's already like, I don't know, it might be hard for you to get in or out. The easiest way is to go through the roof, which I'm probably going to do, but I mean, you can get in through the window too. Actually, I'll just go through the window. Especially with your sore back and tightness, you might not be able to get in and out, I'm not sure. Pretty much going to sit like that. Steering wheel, it was slightly over this way too much before, so I cut it so I can move it, and I also want to drop it down a little bit. So right now it's like, oh, I think that's alright. I kind of want to go right here maybe. So I'm just going to get a piece of steel I have back there, cut a chunk off and like mount it down here. And then I want the steering wheel pretty much to be out here. So I'm probably, I have a quick release that I'm going to mount on here, which I could have showed you, but I forgot it. I'm just going to weld it on here, and it goes out to about there. The steering wheel sits here. So I might want to get an adapter for that to make it just that much further out. Because for driving, you want your elbows to be almost at 90 degrees. So I'm going to have it like here. And then I'll have my seatbelt, which will go to the back bar behind me. I'll have a seatbelt that comes out the side here. I'll probably have to cut the floor partially, so I can have the belts come out and like go around this, or I'll maybe make a place for the seat belt to wrap around on both sides. And then the shifter, since I'll be strapped in, I'll be back like this, so I guess the shifter could go here. But that might be too high for the transmission, I'm not sure. Might have to go somewhere else. Oh, that's backwards. It goes like that. I should mount it to the side of my thing. It's so little side to side movement. Like, that's all it needs to shift. First, second, third, fourth, reverse. So I could actually mount it to the side of my seat and it would work. but I think it's too high for my shifter. I guess I could angle it maybe, I don't know. Technically, for the engine I eventually want to put in it, this would work too. I just wouldn't need anything except for the forward and reverse. But it's really hard to see when I can't feel. I need something to like hold this onto the car while I try to shift and see what it feels like. Or do I want to do up here? I can't do that though. I'd have to have like universal joints which would, I don't think they would work very well. It pretty much has to be down here somewhere. I could also get a extender for this so that it comes off and back. So I could mount it probably like quite a ways down here and just have it come back. This is like perfect too. Right where I have it now, I put one more, I'm going to cut like this in half here, drill holes, mount this onto the bottom, onto this bar like that, and it'll be perfectly matching up with the bottom of the seat where I can drill and mount stuff. So that'll pretty much sit like this. I might do a little bar behind there to the back of the seat so in case of accident it doesn't flex and move around a lot. The last thing I saw for Josh's was 2,900, but maybe I was looking at the non 4, like the not 4S one. Let me do a quick, I think I just, no I didn't. Oh yeah I did, I totally took up the, I screenshotted Josh's car info because I'd like it to get close to the same weight distribution, which is 60-40 for Josh's car. So it says curb weight 2,900 on here, but it doesn't say if that's actually for the 4S or not. So that's not the right one. Here we go. Okay, so this says for Josh's car exactly 3,200, yes. The other one must be for the regular, the Carrera like 2 or whatever, regular Carrera. So it says, yeah, rear engine, all-wheel drive, curb weight 3,200. So Okay, I think I'm gonna be done for today though, because it's been about 3 hours. I still have to shower. I have to download Steam onto this computer that I'm using, and download that thing so we all can play games tonight. So I guess I'm not working on Ellie's bike today. But we'll see. Maybe I'll come back in here a little bit later after I finish all that stuff. So I don't know where you went, but thank you for watching, I guess. I'll probably do this again tomorrow, but we'll see. I'm not sure. Saturday. I'll probably do some more tomorrow, or I'll clean up the garage a little bit again, because it is kind of messy. Anyway, I will talk to you later. Don't forget, wait, Dad, hit the like button. Hit the little thumbs up. If you click away from the chat thing, like you X out of the chat part of it, you can hit the thumbs up button. So give me a thumbs up, because I need those. If me and Joshua's channel is ever going to take off, I need more likes. So 2 likes would be great. But anyway, I will talk to you later. Goodbye.